Kuala Lumpur, Brendan O'Connell, Australian writer and former political prisoner.
There was extra security in the courtroom for the sentencing. After being told he would serve 3 years in jail, O'Connell yelled out, "That's a holiday camp compared to Gaza."
Joining us today from Kuala Lumpur, Central City, Malaysia, welcome to Min Al-Dakhil from the inside, Brandon. Now, allow me to ask you, Brandon, something very important and technical here. I would like you to tell us about how Israel rules everything and dominates cybersecurity and the high technology sector via something called the Talpio program. What is this program and how dangerous is it?
This is about SAS Campbell Barracks, Leon Wind, Variant. Timothy, you told me that Variant does your local and national, your local police intercepts. An Israeli intelligence front.
Pop you in the
Yeah, I know you are, Tim. You, Tim. I'll tell you.
Well, hola, Internet amigos. What an interesting start. Yes, when I go on Lebanese TV, the same one that Hassan Hazarada of Hezbollah goes on, I get straight to the point about Israeli cyber technology juggernaut status. I don't muck around, and I did in 5 minutes what someone else took 900 pages and 2 volumes to not exactly tell you. That's the way we roll. Man, what a show today. Sorry I've been a little bit late. As you know, Mike Gill, for those of you that don't know, is dominating the headline.
Do me a favour, turn that camera off so we don't have a problem. I don't want to have Bedford PD come. Just let's talk first. I have no idea who you are.
Mike Gill, run for governor.
Okay.
State of corruption.
All right.
You know who I am.
No, actually I don't.
No, is it by law we have to shut this off?
No, I'm asking you as a gentleman.
No, I'm keeping it on as a gentleman.
Mike Gill is speaking to Agent John DeLena. After years of exposing the cartel network operating out of New Hampshire, Mike finally forced them to act in 2016. Less than 2 weeks after this confrontation, in which Agent DeLena lies several times, the largest bust of fentanyl in US history took place not far from this DEA location. 80,000 pounds of fentanyl with a small amount of cocaine and heroin of approximately 5 pounds. A tractor trailer stuffed to the eyeballs. All because of Mike Gill, who handed the DEA agent detailed information on the trucking company, the routes, emails, text messages, locations, and all the players. The DEA did absolutely zero groundwork on the bust, but they sure as hell took all the credit, and in fact, they took a hell of a lot more than that. Notably mentioned are the day-to-day operator of the cartel in New Hampshire, Dick Anagnost. He runs hospitals, rehab clinics, casinos, Harley-Davidson retailers, and is a convicted drug trafficker. How is he running casinos? Because all his friends control the state from top to bottom. Does that remind you of another state in the South called Arkansas, Mena, the Clintons, the Bushes? Yeah, now you're getting it. This has happened before. This isn't a big deal, but it is a big deal. Steve Gordon of Shaheen and Gordon Lawyers, trusted partner in crime to the next asshole. Bill Shaheen, lawyer, former Clinton campaign manager, Democratic National Committee man, and husband of Senator Jeanine Shaheen. Bill Shaheen, interestingly, was also Ghislaine Maxwell's lawyer when she was arrested in New Hampshire. That's pretty interesting, isn't it? I mean, that's really interesting. Why did she buy a house in the heart of the beast in New Hampshire? Because she felt safe in New Hampshire, the home base for the giant sexual blackmail, drug trafficking, drug money laundering, and firearms trafficking clearinghouse for the entire entity of North America. Just think Bill Clinton, Mena, Arkansas, Barry Seal, Colonel Oliver North, Iran-Contra, and that is New Hampshire. These are the networks as explained by Kay Griggs in her infamous and must-watch 1997 interview with Pastor Strawcutter. We'll get back to that. New Hampshire was indeed a safe house, or indeed a safe state, where every single state and federal institution in New Hampshire was totally and utterly compromised and in on the greatest drug cartel operation in history. And that's why Ghislaine Maxwell bought a house there. This ultimately will trace all the way back to Likud and Benjamin Netanyahu. Other notables in the DEA bust was the Assistant DEA Director, Jack Riley, who was fully aware of all the details and is as culpable as Robin was close to the rear of Batman. We have a reconstruction of events leading up to the bust.
Commissioner Gordon and Chief O'Hara didn't have much to offer.
1. A policewoman's vanished. 2. Catwoman and Sandman are apparently in cahoots. 3. A girl was abducted from a store window.
Town's got to be cleaned up so that little children are safe, and happy and healthy growing up.
You'll be pleased to know that with 80,000 pounds of fentanyl, that's approximately 36 metric tons, busted, a lot of people went to jail for a very long time. Actually, no one went to jail. No one was named on an indictment, and no one knows where the 80,000 pounds of fentanyl ended up. But I bet Agent Delina knows. Let's get back to him and this cast of woeful characters.
All right?
I'm asking you to leave the property, okay? I don't know who you are.
Oh, here's the package. Here's the criminal package.
Okay.
Get the Tate call. This is the package about drug dealers that we sent you here. Yep, here, come on, get these guys in here. Here's the package, you got it. Now we mailed it. See that he gets it.
See who gets it.
The DEA.
Okay.
Investigate.
Oh,
you know what we have
sir,
in here?
why are you raising your voice? I'm just talking to you like a gentleman. I'm trying to find out. You haven't even shown me an idea. I don't know who you are.
Well, Mike Gill, you know who I am.
Okay, actually, I don't.
You don't?
No,
you
I've
don't
never
know
met
about
you.
state of corruption.
I've
You
never
know-
met
How
you.
about this? You know those big signs with the drug dealers on the signs?
No.
Wow, there's only 2 minutes from here. You're an investigator, right?
A little longer than a few minutes later.
Boxes from National Drug Takeback Day were loaded into trucks.
Several tons of unused drugs collected from 103 locations.
But I have to tell you, I think the Northeast, in particular New Hampshire, is ground zero. But some of our investigations are actually seeing people that live in this general region dealing directly with cartel members along the border.
I'm sure there's a lot of opioids in there that would lead to a lot of abuse issues, and today's a great day for law enforcement because this stuff is safely getting turned in.
We gave him a package. They're all lying. You're going to see in this video, you see this guy? His name is John. That's all we knew. We gave him a package. You see me videotape it. I told them the routes, who they were doing it, who was protecting it.
Riley is optimistic, saying DEA connections across the globe are as strong as ever, and he's committed to putting more DEA agents here in New Hampshire. Reporting live in Portsmouth, Jennifer Crompton, WMUR.
The worst in the country. And you want to elect these assholes again. You see this guy? He's the lawyer for the drug dealers. Maybe you've seen him. And Steve Gordon, you know, Shaheen Gordon. And AOT was only protecting them from the AG's office. It can't happen without their help. This is why we're number one. Right? Number one in deaths, you idiots. This is frustrating because I have been telling you, this guy John, we couldn't even get his last name. You know how many times he asked me for mine? 5 times. Then he called the Bedford cops and told me I wouldn't tell him his name. Oh no, there's nothing wrong with me, John. But you. Hey, but I'm glad it's a good day for law enforcement. Nice job, assholes.
Today's a great day for law enforcement because this stuff is safely getting turned in.
Today is the 18th of February, 2023. It is 10:13 p.m. or 22:13 hours if you've ever done medicine, nursing, or been a fire person or in the army. Yes, 22:13 hours. The reason I say that is this is very late for me. Man, the Mike Gill, we're going to go into that. Here's what else we're going to talk about as I consult my whiteboard. It is not video 177, it is video 178. We've got to go, of course, into James O'Keefe and more stuff on Mike Gill. More, as I've been talking to him extensively. And Mike, oh, yeah. Traditional Catholics are under fire. Well, when you've got people like the closet little bear, little cat boy Nick Fuentes running around stirring up trouble, being the little agent for the FBI is, well, what were we expecting? Ukraine, of course, Scott Ritter, Colonel MacGregor. We've got to go into Scott Ritter's pedophilia, Judge Napolitano, another one who loves him, and his sex assault charges. Now Fox News have dumped him. Why can't intelligent people see BB and Vlad, Ron Unz and Phil Giraldi? We'll go into them. Many of you don't know who that is, but I will tell you Phil Giraldi, former CIA counterintelligence. We will, of course, go again into the Ukraine and the Putin offensive. The general overview, US technology, 2 bases, control Eurasia, all central banking cartel, multipolar world order. We'll stitch together Xi, Putin, Klaus and Ayatollah. And we'll even put in my conversation with Dr. Kevin Barrett.
I didn't go out with Dr. Mahathir yet, but I don't even know if Dr. Mahathir would find a better restaurant than this. Well, people, come to Kuala Lumpur. You know, we should have a convention here. We're talking, or some kind of meetup, and there are different ideas here. But one of them that I've been floating around with some local friends is having a conference on fixing the monetary system, because that is becoming a big issue as the balance of forces reaches the point that Dr. Mahathir can actually say, here, let's try and set up a gold-backed Asian currency alternative to the dollar so we can avoid the U.S. sanctions and trade with Iran. So he knows how far he can push things, but now he's pushing them further because he knows he can get away with it because there are forces in Russia and China, for example, that agree with him. So he knows how far he can push things, but now he's pushing them further because he knows he can get away with it because there are forces in Russia and China, for example, that agree with him.
Another friend of Ron Unz and the gang, pro-Putin clown show. When he came to Kuala Lumpur, we went to an Iraqi restaurant and said, hey, you want to join us to bring down the petrodollar? Blah, blah, blah. I couldn't believe my ears. Anywho, and of course the big one is the Israeli hacking team Jorge. Link into drug trafficking, sexual blackmail and so on. These are small-time people, but there's dozens of them. These same teams that we're talking about here are also the ones doing sexual blackmail, setting people up, working with billionaires. This is a big problem. Isn't that right, Mike Gill? Lots of drug traffickers. Wherever you find these hacking teams, you find drug trafficking, drug money laundering, sexual blackmail, murder, and mayhem, because that's what Likud does. But then again, they all do it. That's the problem. Wow, let's get stuck in. But of course, as always, you know what we got to do. You know what we got to do. We have to attend. So let us attend.
In cyber is a real domain of power. In cyber is a real domain of power.
According to Victor Marchetti, a former special assistant to the deputy director of the Central Intelligence Agency, a limited hangout is, quote, spy jargon for a favorite and frequently used gimmick of the clandestine professionals. When their veil of secrecy is shredded and they can no longer rely on a phony cover story to misinform the public, they resort to admitting, sometimes even volunteering, some of the truth while still managing to withhold the key and damaging facts of the case. The public, however, is usually so intrigued by the new information that it never thinks to pursue the matter further. While used by the CIA and other intelligence organizations, the tactic has become popularized in the corporate and political spheres. Project Veritas is not some independent news operation started by a guy called James O'Keefe. Please get that straight. These are quasi-political intelligence operations, and O'Keefe is an actor playing his role as independent operator, grassroots conservative, looking to make the world a better place. We know about the long history of intelligence-backed book publishers, writers, poets, magazines, movies, TV series, painters, artists, and conferences in the past. Francis Stoner Saunders wrote an excellent book back in 2000 called The Cultural Cold War, The CIA and the World of Arts and Letters. The book discusses the mid-20th century Central Intelligence Agency efforts to infiltrate and co-opt artistic movements using funds that were mostly channeled through the Congress for Cultural Freedom and the Ford Foundation. Remember Norman Dodd and the Ford Foundations? It's one of their number one ways of funding. Nudge, nudge, wink, wink. Also via drug money laundering. The aim of these efforts was to combat the political influence of the Soviet Union and expand American political influence. Saunders concluded that by entangling the state in free artistic expression, the CIA undermined America's moral position in comparison to the Soviet Union. Saunders writes that the CIA secretly subsidized the European tours of the Boston Symphony Orchestra and the films 1984 and Animal Farm. It paid for the publication of thousands of books, including by the publisher Frederick A. Pager and Yugoslav dissident Milovan Djalic. It financed the Partisan Review and the Kenyan Review. Saunders focused on the creation, activities and downfalls of the Congress for Cultural Freedom and its journal Encounter. The book describes how the CIA set up fake foundations and used established bodies such as the Ford Foundation and the Rockefeller Foundation to hide its funding of the Congress for Cultural Freedom and its other covert activities. Once we understand this simple, uncontested history, we can easily understand what is going on today. Do you seriously think all those multi-million-dollar earning alt media stars are real? I mean, seriously? You think Joe Rogan on $150 million a year is taking on the man, saving us from the globalists? Do you think Alex Jones transferring $60 million at a time between his LLC and his parents' Nevada LLC is what? The actions of a man fighting for the common man? These people are multi-millionaires. They use the same damn lawyers as the people they're supposedly fighting. So do you seriously think any of these groups, no matter the alleged political persuasion, are real, grassroots caring about you? You think Project Veritas is some superhero come to save you from the woke left and fake issues like drag queen storytime, globo homo, crazy AOC and the gang? These are manufactured crises. Project Veritas is a honeypot operation to identify and contain potential leakers and damaging issues. This is Intelligence 101, Psychological Warfare 101. To gain credibility, they expose issues that already have 5,000 people exposing them. I mean, COVID. There were literally 500 top-level PhDs and virologists exposing COVID. The New York Times lies. That was a big expose by Project Veritas. The New York Times lies. My God, gee, groundbreaking, everyone. The issues are always contained within a right versus left paradigm. I don't notice James O'Keefe going after deep Israeli and Russian penetration of US critical infrastructure, the number one problem in the US that could bring the US economy and the United States in general to its knees, or exposing the continued excesses of Wall Street and the thieves who made fortunes in the 2008 housing bubble collapse. And O'Keefe will most certainly not be exposing the greatest drug trafficking ring of all time in New Hampshire, involving his alleged political enemies in the Republican Jeanine Shaheen and Chris Sununu Clinton and Bush network. Instead of exposing them, they took political leverage and a cut of the proceeds in the $934 billion drug money laundering operation centered in New Hampshire, distributing fentanyl throughout the United States, protected by their own banks, IRS, DEA, FBI. You do understand why Ghislaine Maxwell ran to New Hampshire for protection and was represented by Democratic operator Bill Shaheen. The entire Israeli-Russian intel-run blackmail and drugs operation is run out of there. It is MENA Mark II, only bigger and better. Mike Gill exposed it fully. James O'Keefe and Project Veritas helped to cover it up. And what's this coming out of the Twitter feed of Trump Jr.? Quote, the radical left has an entire $1 trillion enterprise covering for them. Really? $1 trillion, or as Mike Gill explained, $934 billion, all accounted for in the Pandora Papers. That number was no accident. And lawyer Jenna Ellis defending the removal of James O'Keefe as people promised to leave the new Project Veritas without James O'Keefe. Quote, don't do this. Wait for the facts. There is a lot more to this, I guarantee you. End quote. Well, we do indeed look forward to the cover story and possible limited hangout, but we look even more forward to the full truth and Donald Trump exposing the full scale of the corruption in New Hampshire. And like Jenna Ellis, yes, the truth will come out. Always, after a few attempts at a half-truth or two, we will get there. Project Veritas is an intel operation advised by Eric Prince, who is mentioned constantly in the Mueller report, working with Roger Stone to get the goods on Hillary before the 2016 election. And please, don't think I'm a Hillary or Biden fan. Spare me. They're all corrupt as hell. Clearly. The Russians did not release the emails via WikiLeaks. Israel did. The same Israel that is a, quote, high technology juggernaut, end quote.
Whole tower there is the United States. The United States is bigger than Israel. But it ain't that much bigger than Israel. And Israel is number 2. You know the 5 eyes? Israel is the 6th eye? No, Israel is the 2nd eye. Israel is the 2nd eye. Israel is the 2nd eye. Israel is the 2nd eye.
Oh, my.
That is forever hacking the planet and has its claws and its military intelligence operatives throughout the United States, critical infrastructure and most sensitive military high technology areas. I ask why James O'Keefe and Project Veritas don't think it's worth looking into the technology transfers that are going into Israel, like Microsoft Corporation, all its core R&D and coding. It's in Israel. Intel Corporation, huge chip maker, all those hardware backdoors they've been finding. Well, all the core R&D in the fab, its most advanced, is in Israel. What a shame. Whitney Webb couldn't manage to tell you that. Neither could James O'Keefe. That's funny. Here's Eric Prince to Roger Stone in the Mueller report discussing Assange. On October 4, Prince also asked Stone whether Assange had, quote, chickened out. Stone responded that he was, quote, not sure, but checking. Later that day, Prince texted Stone again to ask whether he had heard anything more from London. Stone wrote, yes, want to talk on a secure line? Got WhatsApp? And previewed that it was good. Prince recalled later speaking with Stone, he told him that WikiLeaks would release more materials harmful to the Clinton campaign. Prince also described Stone having the equivalent of, quote, insider stock trading information about Assange. And this interesting tidbit, around the same time, in approximately May 2016, Roger Stone alerted Rick Gates and Paul Manafort that WikiLeaks would be releasing information about Clinton, but provided no details about the timing. Stone had known Trump for years and had served as an advisor to the Trump campaign from late 2014 until approximately August 2015. Although Stone no longer had a formal position on the campaign at this time, the campaign still had people he knew, including Trump, Gates, Paul Manafort, and later Steve Bannon and Stone, had the ability to access these people. Stone stayed in close communication with the campaign. In April and May 2016, Stone and Gates had approximately 67 phone calls. During the same time period, Stone and Manafort spoke by phone approximately 64 times, and Stone also spoke 67 times with Trump donor Eric Prince. That's a little tangled web. And here's Roger Stone on Truth Social when it first opened up. Mike Gill had just got on and Roger Stone wrote to him, glad to see you here. I hope you are doing okay. I know everything you have said about your own situation is true. God bless you. That's from Roger Stone. Now, he's being tricky with his words with, I know everything you have said about your own situation is true, is a bit of legal talk to protect himself, but you get the message. Roger Stone knows he knows everything. That crew all know. And now you might get the message about why they went after Trump so hard, why they raided Mar-a-Lago, because Trump knew and they were desperate to shut him up, to stop him exposing the biggest crime in history. You'll get this. Stick with us. You'll get it. It's huge. And here you have Roger Stone with NATO Marine CIA Psych Warfare Training Officer Robert David Steele. In this DC restaurant photo, Steele and Stone are discussing, quote, global strategy.
We all know that you are acquainted with Robert David Steele, and there's a photograph of you with Robert David Steele.
Yes.
Standing under a portrait of, is it Theodore Roosevelt?
Yes, it's at P.J. Clark's restaurant here in Washington, D.C. And the picture is 100% authentic. We had a very pleasant dinner together. We talked, global strategy.
Yes, and of course my expertise in digital photography told me that, but I always like to get first-hand information from the source.
Interestingly, Steele ghostwrote the memoir for General Al Gray, the King of the Cherry Marines. Do you know what a Cherry Marine is? That's a closet bisexual homosexual Marine. Kay Griggs exposed that if you want to rise really high and rapidly, well, you're going to have to bend over and give all for the country. You think it's a joke? Simply Google Kay Griggs Talks. 7 hours of exactly what has been going on for decades.
All right. Now, we're having a fascinating conversation talking to the wife of the former
Chief of Staff, Marine Atlantic, head of the intelligence group that went to Beirut. They were already meeting over there. He was before the Beirut bombing. The NATO intelligence wet operations guy, psychological operations guy.
Okay, now when you refer to wet operations, WET, does that stand for something?
Yes, it means murder, assassinations groups.
The highest levels of the Marine Corps and the Army in those special operations levels, the individuals are actually in the mob. New Jersey.
You're talking about the mafia type mob?
I'm talking about the Brooklyn, New Jersey mob. My husband, Al Gray, Sheehan, they're all Brooklyn. Cap Weinberger. Heinz Kissinger, there's the Boston mob, which was shipping weapons back and forth to Northern Ireland. And I don't want to get too deeply involved in that, but it goes, Israel, some of the Zionists who came over from Germany, according to my husband, were, see, he works with those people. They do a lot of money laundering in the banks, cash transactions for the drugs that they're bringing over through Latin America, the Southern Mafia, the Dixie Mafia, which is now my husband's involved with in Miami. The military are all involved once they retire. They're, they go into this drug and secondary weapons sales.
The sexual rings, the blackmail rings, the orgies, the pedophilia, the drug running, the gun running, the drug money laundering. She lays it all out. She also lays out that General Al Gray was the most evil man she had ever known. And there's Robert David Steele hanging with Roger Stone, who ghost wrote his memoir. That's pretty interesting. Everywhere you go, there are these psych warfare operators. Both Stone and Paul Manafort are close to Denology and Clearforce, data analytics, psych warfare, private military intelligence companies started by former head of NATO, General Jim Jones, as exposed by Millie Weaver in Shadowgate. Patrick Berge had this to say about Stone and General Jones's son, who runs the company day to day.
Privatised data analytic companies contracted to the US and Israeli intelligence community, such as Denology and General Jones, with whom Roger Stone had a close association.
Explain it, because it doesn't hurt my feelings. Explain why you wouldn't come here first.
I'm the pioneer of IIA, basically social media fake news. The last place that I'm going to go is a organization called Information Warfare, right? So our number one partner, and this is 2008, 2009, 2010, our number one partner. Hell, we were McCain's IT security company and social media company during the 2008 primary. We were replaced in a subprime shift with Paul Manafort and Roger Stone, right? So your partner is someone who was who is close personal friends to my boss, Jim Jones, his dad, General James Jones, and Dynology, the company I worked for, when I'm helping them make these flyers, didn't have any salespeople. And 3EDC.
But explain that to people, because I know that General Jones was involved consulting Trump early on. I know he had some involvement because Stone goes around and works with all these groups.
And then you have this.
I'd like to mention Biden because he's not controlling anything.
Who do you think is pulling Biden's strings? Is it former Obama
people
officials?
That you've never heard of. People that are in the dark shadows. People that...
What does that mean? That sounds like conspiracy theory. Dark shadows.
No,
what is that?
People that you haven't heard of. They're people that are on the streets. They're people that are controlling the streets. We had somebody get on a plane from a certain city this weekend. And in the plane, it was almost completely loaded with thugs wearing these dark uniforms, black uniforms with gear and this and that. They're on a plane.
Where's this?
I'll tell you sometime, but it's under investigation right now.
Understand this Patrick Berge quote.
Sure. If it benefits them to attack Trump, they will attack Trump. If it benefits them to use Trump to hurt their enemies, they will use Trump to hurt their enemies. It has nothing to do with politics.
It's all very sociopathic.
It's nothing to do with politics. It's all about power and profit. People got to get the politics out of their mind with this. Once you can accept that, it starts making sense.
All these clips are taken from Rats in the Ranks, an over 3-year-old video series on all of these people, and I will upload it to YouTube shortly and see if I can get them to survive. It may take some editing. You can see how all of these people are interrelated via this one picture, just this one picture. I want you to look very closely. That's the head of Denology and former NATO Marine General Jim Jones. He's handing out an award to none other than Fox News owner, arch-globalist Rupert Murdoch. Next to Murdoch is none other than Crown Corporate Rothschild right-hand man Heinz Kissinger, standing by. Heinz would also like to kill us all with a virus, if you care to remember. Here are a few family pictures of the man above forms. Kissinger and Associates, the replacement to the Dulles brothers John Foster and Allen, and their law firm Sullivan and Cromwell, the Mr. Fix-Its. Kissinger and Associates took over the role of the Dulles brothers. It was Kissinger and Associates via Yuri Primakov, the Russian foreign minister, who put none other than Vladimir Putin in. And here's Kissinger with none other than Xi Jinping. And where was Kissinger in 1973? Well, he was setting up the Chinese Communist Party, transferring technology, managing the investment, and building up the enemy of the United States. Hello? Anybody? There they all are at the Atlantic Council, another group associated with the CFR, Trilateral Commission, and the Ford and Rockefeller Foundations. Now, isn't that interesting? Here is Tucker Carlson's boss with Heinz Kissinger and an elitist group as you can get. And they're all going to take down the evil globalists, everyone. Tucker, the man of the people and alt media star, saving us from AOC and the woke left tranny Spetsnaz crisis actors Globo Homo. Oh no. He's writing blurbs of support for Alex Jones and his new bestseller book exposing the evil global elites with the help of arch-globalists Rupert Murdoch and Heinz Kissinger. Naturally, when you're fighting the global elites, you sell your book and documentary on a globalist elitist par excellence, Amazon and Jeff Bezos, as one does. Joe Rogan and Steve Bannon in tow on the back of the book writing their blurbs. You can see all the linkages, can't you? Do you think any of these group are grassroots and organic? I mean, seriously. All are controlled by the same team above forms in a fake right versus left dialectic. At best, they are all bone tossers and cheap dog whistles and one-liners. This is the cultural Cold War at work 2023 style. They gave us the great dragon COVID to slay, and it has created many friends and many enemies. Many heroes who we can now trust as they lead us to our bright, shining destiny. Replete with AI machine learning and privatised corporations owned and run by foreign entities conning the American public. Why do you think the likes of Marjorie Taylor Greene and Patrick Howley call for a complete breakup of the United States? They're calling for it right now, again and again. Yes, Lord Rothschild, the Crown and the UK European banking cartel are indeed hoping for this and hoping they can con the American public into it. But they didn't con Mike Gill, and you should not let James O'Keefe and that crowd try and wiggle their way out of what they have done in New Hampshire with the greatest drug and money laundering operation in history that humbles Mena, Arkansas. Now, Donald Trump better come out swinging real quick. He owes nothing to these people who tossed him out of office. Both Murdoch and Kissinger are on the record as hating Trump's guts, along with Peter Singer, BlackRock, Goldman Sachs, and a host of billionaires. They were not raiding Mar-a-Lago for top-secret government documents, by the way. They were looking for Mike Gill's evidence for the greatest crime and corruption and political scandal in history, just to let you know. Now let's get back to the original show. There is way more to unfold. Don't fall for the fake right versus left dialectic. When they start talking in terms of conservative versus liberal, right versus left, you gotta fake. It's really simple. There is only one, the international banking cartel of cartels, Lord Rothschild, the City of London, the UK European banking cartel, the political Zionist movement, penetration of the United States, in cahoots with the old Crown. Maybe you could call it British Israelism if you wanted to. But the fact remains, a lot of people in the old country have been wanting to bring down the brat, the colonial outpost, for a long time, with its crazy dreams of personal freedom and freedom from government tyranny. Don't fall for it. Do not think for a single second the massive drug distribution and money laundering operation in New Hampshire, United States, is simply about power and greed at the expense of a massive fentanyl death toll. That's disgusting enough. Remember, these people aren't just drug traffickers and money launderers. These people are killers. They are mass murderers. They are literally mass murderers. You need to get that into your head. Mike Gill is a damned hero of heroes. These people work for a private internationalist banking cartel that has been funding covert wars at home and abroad. infiltrating the United States, using blackmail and bribery, thank you Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell, stealing technology, increasing police state powers and ensuring the destruction of the family unit to take over a sovereign nation by eating out its social cohesion from within. That's why it's not just drug money laundering and drugs, it's also child sex trafficking. It's also opening the borders, opening the southern borders, causing more and more social destruction from within. This is bigger than Mike Gill and a gigantic drug and money laundering operation easily identifiable in New Hampshire, where Ghislaine Maxwell felt safe enough to move before she was arrested. This is a planetary operation identified in the Pandora and Panama Papers, and Mike's heroic and dangerous work must be moved from the small-time alt media into the hands of high-profile players. Only the United States has the power and the technology to smash this planetary network. Let's get busy. Let's get back to the show. It's a long one, but Mike Gill had to have some extra attention with all the revelations coming out with James O'Keefe and Project Veritas. Let's, of course, first go into the cyber technology juggernaut, Israel. I just want to clarify something. As you know, Jews put me onto this subject way back in 2005. Jews have supported me, and Israel is not a homogenous group of people. It is highly diverse. A good chunk of the population do not even identify as Jewish. It is falling apart, and civil war is not so far out of the question. The only reason it won't happen is guarantee you Bibi's going to start a war to make sure the country comes together under the War Powers Act. Hezbollah should, on cue, although they have been pretty quiet lately, and Hassan Nasrallah usually comes out when Bibi needs an excuse to fire a rocket, going, blah, 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 kill everyone, send them home in a box. All Jews, get out, except Palestinian Jews. He's been surprisingly quiet and respectful, amazingly. Well, as far as I know. So I don't know if he'll be doing any Hitler salutes and calling for the death of all Jews in occupied Palestine for Bibi. So he's been very quiet. Good lad, good lad.
Okay. Yeah, Hezbollah area. Okay. Send it. Yep.
Well, at last, I'm in Lebanon. I'm in Beirut. It's 24th of February. It's 10:46 a.m. on Monday, and the Malaysian immigration kindly rang the Lebanese embassy, and they said no problem, come straight in. So that was very nice, and we've already got meetings all today. I'm so tired, but Sufyan has already organised meetings with the media and University of Beirut, I think, academics. So.
We need to, of course, get into this cyber business first, then we'll get on to Mike Gill. For those of you that don't know, you know my story and how I've spent a good chunk of the last 15 years bringing this to the fore. Cyber is the real domain of power.
Big countries. Because the intersection of big data, connectivity, and artificial intelligence, and what it does in robotics and genetics and all the other fields, Uli, that you mentioned, everything. That is changing our world in rapid succession. And the future belongs to those who can seize this change. We are positioned right at the cusp of this change, right at the center of this change. We can take it, and we are. It's changing us. It's giving us powers and prowess that we never had before. It's giving us powers and prowess that we never had before. But we are in a position now to compensate beyond anything that we dreamed of. In cyber is a real domain of power. In cyber is a real domain of power.
If you don't know, please watch my must-watch playlist, and that will explain an awful lot to you just how powerful Israel is and how it has taken over the United States and continues to sit there. And this, when we read this, you'll understand the multipolar world order. Xi wanted it, Putin wants it, Klaus Schwab and the WEF wants it. Ayatollah Khomeini wants it, Heinz Kissinger and Associates wants it, and that's what will bring it all together. The BRICS. Who wants the BRICS, Whitney Webb? Who pushed the BRICS? Who pushed Vladimir Putin? Your little friend, the last American vagabond, pushing Xi Jinping. Gee, I'm starting to see a pattern here. How strange. How interesting. Very interesting. Cambridge Analytica, this is fascinating. Now, this is a small-time crew, this Israeli company. But these are the ones you don't hear about. But there's dozens and dozens of them. Look, there's ones in Britain doing similar things. There's ones in Europe. There's an equivalent of the Telpiot program in the United States. I don't know what it's called, but that is what Edward Snowden was doing. Remember how in the movie he gets shin splints and fractures his shin? And you think, what's he doing that wet rag doing special forces training? It was the Telpiot program. That's the American equivalent. It's so vital to understand this cyber aspect. We're just going to spend 10, 15 minutes on it. We'll talk briefly about the Bird, the Bard and the BSF, the Binational Science Foundation, of course linked in with Heinz Kissinger. When was it introduced? 1973. Same year he and Nixon were traveling to China. That has been one of the big technology transfer points to get all this tech out and infect the world with it, to build up official enemies and then go to war under the War Powers Act, build all this high technology infrastructure, AI, machine learning. It's been planned for decades and decades and decades. These people are planning 50 years ahead. Literally, it all is coming to a grinding halt. Let's see what happens in the battle for Eurasia. I've said over and over, I don't even care about COVID. It's not even on my mind. There are literally 50,000 PhDs, top virologists, very smart, intelligent people working on COVID, the vax, and all the ramifications. Why would I bother? I talk about the thing that no one else wants to talk about in high detail, and that includes you, Whitney Webb, the real solid ramifications, the ramifications with the appropriate expletives and rage and anger to try and get your attention about how important it is to understand cyber. You don't just flip it along and include it in 50 other subjects or stash it away in a 900-page copy and paste monstrosity and then get pushed by none other than hardcore Zionist Israeli firster Glenn Beck. It's called a limited hangout. Might put the limited hangout in there. I hope you understand. We'll get more into it later. Let's look at this. Cambridge Analytica's Israeli Black Ops team exposed at last. In-house emails published here for the first time identify the Israeli hackers running global disinformation campaigns whom Cambridge Analytica officials tried so hard to keep hidden. This has been a hard slog getting this out. This is Haaretz. This is the left-wing paper, but the Times of Israel, the Jerusalem Post, that is some of the best info you're ever going to get is straight out of the Israeli press. Why? Because they don't want to be a part of China and Russia. They don't want to be abandoned to Russia. All right. They want to stick with the United States. They've been screaming for a decade. Solid. Where do you think I get some of my best information from? Seriously, don't think Israel is some homogenous group of Jews all planning together to find the blue-haired, unbaptized Aryan babies, cutting their throats and putting the blood in their Passover bread. Please cease and desist. There are many allies right there in Israel, clearly, right there in the United States. And remember, Bibi and the gang, and it's actually right or left-wing, I promise you. One does it hard, the other does it a bit nicely with a kiss. But they're all aiming for the same thing. That's why they got to run Nazis and white nationalists and scream at Jewish communities to keep them in line. That's what they've been working on for so long. But now this is very interesting, this stuff that's coming out. And thank you to everyone who sent me lots of links. I appreciate it. I've never had so many links on this particular subject. And yeah, don't always assume that I get them. And remember, if you're emailing me, just keep sending till I reply. So every 3 days, if I still haven't replied, send again, because I will reply to you. Let's read this. So the in-house emails published here for the first time identify the Israeli hackers running global disinformation campaigns whom Cambridge Analytica officials tried so hard to keep hidden. Oh, I can't read this one. I thought I could before. Damn. Many details in the testimony of Brittany Kaiser, who positioned herself as the whistleblower. Well, before we go in, I'm in shock. I can't believe I didn't do it. Normally I take a PDF of the page. I'll scan it as a PDF. I went away for 2 hours. I came back. I never leave the computer connected to the internet unless I'm in front of it looking at the task manager. Not that it helps. And now the full articles I had have now gone to a subscriber only. It's okay. We'll find other ones, but this is interesting. Let's read the very start. It's pretty interesting. An investigative series by The Marker, Haaretz, and scores of other media outlets from around the world documenting the, quote, agents of chaos, the brothers Tal and Zohar Hanan, Team Jorge, they're probably running stuff for Colombian cartels and Mexican cartels as well. And the false identities business of Percepto International, a firm owned by Lior Chorev, a media consultant, and Rory Burstein, a retired intelligence corps officer, once again exposes Israel as a world power, world power, world power. Not as a major player, as having a considerable influence, no, a world power, because cyber is the real domain of power. In the field of dubious high-tech services that extract a heavy price on human rights. Not just that, they're running your critical infrastructure. Zohar Zippel, we gave this to Whitney Webb, and that became the joke 4 years ago. Will Whitney say Zohar Zippel? Will she say Rad Group? Will she say it? Or the electrical, cyber technology, encrypted VoIP communications, electrical grids? Will she? No. She's never going to say that, because that might give the full game away. Okay, let's keep going. No morals, no qualms, no borders. Tal Hanan and Team Jorge have turned chaos into business. On the evening last July, a well-known figure in the corporate intelligence sphere was contacted via an intermediary by an unknown foreign business owner. This was a French guy, and he plotted to be doing elections in Chad. The services are hacking, messaging apps, and email accounts. That's why there's always flaws. Now, what did we say again and again when we gave all of this information to Whitney Webb in 2019? All of the detailed information, Israel, Russia, China, Belt and Road, she never breathed a word. We know she got it. She made a conscious choice not to tell you. She pushed Putin. She patted G on the bottom and said what a nice boy he was with her friends, the last American vagabond, Ryan Christian, and others. And Minpress News. I was in Iran. I told you they were working together. You've seen the 2019 article on people joining the Eurasian Economic Union, and they wouldn't tell you about this. That's a limited hangout. All right? They're core coding Windows for the 500th time. Core coding. That's not just grandma's computer. That's not little Timmy's computer gaming machine. That's the Pentagon. That's the front end of every bank. That's the front end of major corporations. That's the computers that do the computer-aided design on the space shuttle, on Boeing software development, on the shop floor, all sorts of things. Do you understand? Windows is used everywhere, in virology labs, chemical engineering, material science, at Intel, everywhere. And it's all core-coded in Israel, particularly the security center. The Azure cloud of Microsoft, which has part of the CIA on it, for crying out loud. That's Adalom. That was Asaf Rappaport. We got him fired. Don't know how much difference it made, but we got him fired. We didn't put it on Facebook. We lobbied. We're making changes slowly, very slowly, for good or ill. No one would tell you. We tried to tell you. We can't get it out. No one will cross-promote with us. They call us crazy and mentally ill. We don't hang around with white nationalists and Nazis and lunatics. Whitney Webb did. She happily went on some of those places that were clearly like Adam Green. We've done nothing wrong, and we've been vilified continuously, and they've approached me continuously, including Fred Smith, Skull and Bones, the founder of FedEx, tapped twice for Secretary of Defense. He's approached me. John Wilson, whose brother's in Asia, the equivalent of the Australian CIA. He loves Whitney Webb. He said, "You're damaged goods, Brendan. Relax." They wanted to remove me out of the scene, and I would hang out with oil and gas execs and consular officials, and they'd probably give me a job in Kuala Lumpur. I got offered a job in Brussels with Exchange Minerals, one of those drug-dealing fiends, which is in my UN document. All sorts of things. I don't think you quite realise the level this has been operating at. Got Cynthia McKinney, Congresswoman Cynthia McKinney, emailing me, you have a body of work to be proud of, okay? We were giving this material for the last 5 years continuously to people in a spirit of camaraderie. Say, we're all in this together. We got to focus on this issue. No one would touch us. No one would touch us. Jeff Rentz a couple of times, and then I stopped going on. He was always asking me on. Why? Because he's actually in business with Dr. David Duke, former head of the Ku Klux Klan. I'm not going back on. I'm not doing it. Lots of other people just go straight on. Remember, I'm a political dissident in search of asylum, so I ain't going anywhere near those people, clearly. But for others, it's not a problem. Good luck to them. But this is slowly getting out there. It's really important to understand when you have Intel chip design, which in 2018, when we really pushed this hard, when we were approached by very high-level players, Intel and the backdoors, over 92% of all chips in server farms that run the internet, in the corporate sphere, in the banking sphere, everything were Intel chips. And it wasn't just the Intel management engine. It wasn't just the platform security processor in AMD. It was the Christopher Domas exposed DEC, deeply embedded core, which with a 64-string random character inputted on the command line, lo and behold, will give you full and total backdoor access to x86 infrastructure chips, like Intel chips, like AMD chips. These were VIA chips. These were industrial controller chips, but they were the exact same architecture as Intel. And he couldn't tell you that Intel have them too, because that would give the game away. It would cause a disruption in the entire freaking high-tech industry. They had to nudge and wink it, but that's what he was saying. And in 2018, down Intel came. They didn't have a simple production problem with their 10-nanometer process, which was developed in Israel. The Ice Lake 10-nanometer processor, years late, fully and totally a design implemented in Israel. And it was a disaster. They had to fully redesign the chip. Why? Because they got caught with a backdoor. They got caught. It's been a disaster for Intel, and they're barely struggling to get back on their feet as we speak. These were the vital, deep cyber infrastructure narratives that we needed to get out there and discuss and refine and see where it went and consult experts. No one would have a bar of us. Whitney Webb gave you that little limited hangout. Oh, election guard's done in Microsoft. Bibi's bad. Oh, he's involved with Bill Gates. No. It's much worse than that. And if you watch my must-watch playlist, you'll see what I've been saying with 10 other people. Just 10 to 15 people sharing links. And we produce those videos in the must-watch playlist. And nobody will link to us. Ever. Funny that. Let's just keep going. Hacking messaging apps and email accounts. How do you think they do it? Because it's all code-coded in Israel. Planting materials in compromised accounts. How's anyone going to get convicted again of having pedophile? They'll just say, oh, I'm a target, assuming they're in the right way to say that, and they planted this stuff on my computer. What a great defense. You'll get away with anything to do with computer fraud. It's been placed on my computer. Get a cyber expert to appear for you. Explain how Israel hacking everyone and where it's all code-coded and Intel chips. Voila. There's no way you'll be convicted. Hack and leak of real or forged materials. Come on, people. Remember the 666 patent? Oh my God, there's a patent for all these COVID vaccines and it's nanotech and it's got 666 in it. That was a plant. It was a plant. They planted that material to get you all flustered and going because COVID was a distraction. They bought it in. It wasn't due out till 2028. And Jared Kushner was going to be running for president then. Hack and leak of real or forged materials. Army of online avatars, fake accounts for social media manipulation, voter suppression and election disruption, undermining the election results with Stop the Steal style campaigns. Regardless, as we all know, if we don't clean up the cyber and you don't encourage those people in the FBI, in the CIA, in the DIA, in the NSA, and every other acronym you can think of, that this is not a secret. It's known by lots of people. They can't move forward because their supervisors are blocking them. When they see a groundswell of intelligent conversation on this subject, things will start changing. They already is, clearly. Israel's on the lips of analysts online like Eric Garland, big fan of the Bidens, but Eric Garland will talk about Israel all day. In fact, he got back to me a couple of times with a snicker and we cracked a few jokes. Eric just has a rather uncomfortable love for Joe Biden, which is extremely distressing. Nonetheless, not a worry. Let's get that information into his hands, and that's what I've been doing on the side. So this is very positive news, and these links are, of course, linked below. Very, very positive. It's coming out stronger and stronger and stronger. And maybe, these things are handled quietly. I don't know. But the limited hangout has gone on long enough. Let's move on quickly now to the great, fantastical Mike Gill. Ladies and gentlemen, if you don't know who Mike Gill is, you should. It is the scandal corruption of the century, not the decade, the century. And we're talking here K. Greek style military-style operations involving intelligence communities, involving high-level politicians, involving banking, the IRS, the FBI, drug trafficking, drug money laundering, and, of course, good old-fashioned murder, mayhem, and firearms. It is the exact Kay Griggs network that Kay talked about all those years ago. Mike has a new fantastic favourite video. That's video 5 of mine, Trump versus COVID. I suggest you watch it. I find it hard to describe because most people just are not going to believe it, but it's all, the evidence is there. The huge bust, one of the biggest on record in America, to do with good old fentanyl. That's a drug I used to use when I was a registered nurse. It's measured in micrograms. It's a very strong version of morphine. We would give it in up to 10 microgram dose, not milligrams, micrograms, which is 1,000 times smaller. It's a similar super fentanyl, they call it, that they used to try and kill the head of Hamas, Khalid Marshall, and they sprayed it in his ear. And, of course, he couldn't breathe. And then they finally told him what it was, and they, of course, gave a narcotic reversal agent, which will snap you instantly out of the narcotic. Very interesting. And I didn't realize just how big a problem this was in America. Well, it was Mike Gill who got one of the biggest busts ever. And I want you to listen to this. This will really focus around one of the protagonists. The biggies are, and I will miss out on a few, and you'll get more of this. We're doing a timeline. We're making a document. He's used to be worth $300 to $400 million. He's now penniless. They broke him. When he put their names on billboards and called them drug dealers, well, they didn't sue him. They asked for a settlement. They offered him, on the record, known by such places as HOWLEY, Patrick HOWLEY, who worked for the Epoch Times, $50 million. And Patrick HOWLEY's going, I don't understand why they're giving you $50 million. They're giving him $50 million to walk. This is Janine Sheehan and Bill Sheehan. Did I say that right? Sheehan or Shaheen? Bill Shaheen. That lawyer is the one who represents Ghislaine Maxwell. Why do you think Ghislaine Maxwell went to New Hampshire? That's where the clearinghouse is for all the drug money of America. It's the main clearinghouse. Nearly $1 trillion, $934 billion is sitting up there. Donald Trump knew. Steve Bannon knew. Corey Lewandowski knew. They all knew. Why do you think O'Keefe has left Project Veritas? Seriously, you think that excuse is true? It ain't true. They're leaving over Mike Gill because it's coming out. It's coming out. And it's going to be so big, it's not funny. And I mean, it's really not funny. Bill Sheehan was the campaign manager for the Clintons. That's how close they are. It's incredible. And he's the lawyer for Ghislaine Maxwell. We could talk about this for hours. Why talk? Let's make a documentary. Let's get a timeline. It should have been done years ago. No one's bothered to do it. We're working on it right now. But this one is Dick, well, there's 3 of them there. Andy Cruz, Bill Grine, and Dick Anagnost. See that Dick Anagnost? Anagost, sorry if I pronounced that right. Incredible. Major drug trafficker, Harley Davidsons, they own hospitals. He's a hardcore drug trafficker of epic proportions. And we're going to talk about him and his role when the FBI raided. They raided his casino and busted a bunch and a heap of his family and others. It's incredible. What you just heard is a taste. You can go to State of Corruption, which is Mike's YouTube. It's still up. Remember, Mike had like 8 million views and 8 million regular attendees of his Facebook page before they deleted it. This was huge. I never heard about this. I knew nothing about it. Trump knew. Trump knows now. Is Trump going to swoop in? You know why they raided Mar-a-Lago? You know why? They were after all the information that Mike Gill had given Trump. That's what they were after. They were after the information Mike Gill had given Trump. That's why they're in Mar-a-Lago. That's why. And we could even speculate they were looking around the Biden property for similar material. When you understand what's going on currently and how Chris Sununu, who's also in on it, the whole of the state is in it, and it's everywhere. It's all through America. But New Hampshire is the clearinghouse New Hampshire is the clearinghouse for the whole country, and they've got this system operating worldwide. I know this stuff goes on. Of course I freaking know. I've done about it in many, many videos, but I've never had this amount of detailed information in my life, and neither have you. Where's the big names? Where's Alex Jones? Hey? Where are they? Where's Steve Bannon? Hey, War Room, you going to have Mike Gill on? The silence is deafening. This could bring down, I shudder to think. But some very interesting people are watching now. All you crew, Bill Shaheen. You know, usually the bodies start hitting the floor about now and the cleanup operations begin. I tell you what, I wouldn't want to be in that crew for pennies anywhere. All those libertarians. James O'Keefe better watch his back. They might start cleaning up. Mike doesn't care. He's used to it. Neither do I. I'm used to it. It was like nothing for me to pick this up. It was, be careful. What do you mean? I've been at this for 15 years. Mike Gill, legend. I think it's time to move on. That's just a taste. There's more to come out. You know, I'd really much rather a big name pick up Mike Gill and help him out. That's what I'd rather, because I've got my own issues to attend to. But seeing as none of you are going to get the timeline, seeing none of you are going to make a nice script and a nice documentary, above all, the timeline is vital. You've got to have a timeline of all the events and all the characters, all the protagonists laid out in a big graphic. If none of you are going to do it, you big names with all your money, you little whores online, I guess Brendan O'Connell will do it. How about that? If you're going to avoid him, then he's going to fall right into my arms. Thank you very much. And a few of our friends. We'll all be meeting together. This is going to get very, very, very interesting. Mike Gill, there's your hero. The link to his GoFundMe. He's got a whole range of things he's going to do. He's just about in tears. He's so grateful. This is a man that was making $1.5 million a week in his huge business with $300 to $400 million total in assets, and now has nothing. He made a conscious choice. The man was going to train as a priest between the age of 14 and 19, and he got out. I identify with him very closely. We both have the same point of view. We don't like bullies, and we can't help ourselves. We can't walk away. If not me, who? If not now, when? This man is the real deal. He's got to be one of the whistleblowers of whistleblowers. There will be, guaranteed, a Netflix series about this guy. You can guarantee it. It's going to be huge. So why don't you get on board and help this guy out? And it's one of my patrons that sent him $1,400 and got him to his $5,000. You don't know. He needs desperately, and he needs it consistently. As I said, all those Russian killers who are running around, try Israeli Russian, Likud types. He said, that explains a lot. Watch video 5, Trump versus COVID. He's watched it twice. His favourite video now. Watch that video. It's one of my best. I'm very proud of it. Made under very difficult circumstances. Again, if my channel hadn't been deleted 50 times, it'd have 1 million views by now. That's the great Mike Gill. There's a lot more to come from this. Let's move on. Ladies and gentlemen, it helps when you look at the right camera, doesn't it? The FBI is blacklisting traditional Catholics. Indeed, they put them in the white nationalist potential terrorist bracket, which is pretty funny. I don't know, but the only traditional Orthodox-style Catholics I know are not into terrorist activities. Nick Fuentes might be, and his little artificial groyper group. Nick Fuentes is as gay as the day is long. He's as wet as a rainy day. We're not sure if he's a giver or a taker. I suggest he takes it. And I find it sincerely amazing that that idiot isn't seen for what he is. It's scary that I am so removed from the 20-somethings that they're actually falling for this garbage, the Andrew Tates of this world, the diamond smuggler. Andrew Tate makes his money by smuggling diamonds backwards and forwards from Romania, Bulgaria area. He works for organised crime. He smuggles them up his ass. When you see these people based in Dubai running backwards and forwards, they are transferring money in the form of diamonds. See, diamonds were the big one before Bitcoin. Now Bitcoin's on the wave. They're back to using diamonds. That's what keeps the price of diamonds artificially high. They're backed by the drug trade. So it's not a huge penalty if you get caught with $40 million worth of diamonds up your bum, but there's an awfully big penalty for $40 million worth of drugs. That's why so many people backwards and forwards are running backwards and forwards to Dubai, because that's where you launder your drug money. You turn it into concrete, and they have a lot little areas around the world to launder your drug money. Heroin trade built Sydney, the coke trade built Miami, many other places around the world. And that's why these people are doing it this way. It's all a bunch of crooks. It's all run by the same network, including Nick Fuentes and that idiot who likes Baphomet pants, the little illuminist called Kanye, who has found Jesus. Another one who's found Jesus. Well, I hope it's true. I hope he really has. But sometimes I have my doubts. But they're all pushing the same agenda, and they're all in with that other rent boy, the crown corporate, Milo Yiannopoulos, who's running around saying, America, you should need to go back to the crown. I mean, I'm not sure how obvious it has to get. But the fact they are now designating traditional Catholics, whose one simple thing with the Latin Mass and, of course, the ending of Vatican II and a return to the original Mass, and they stopped building new churches, Catholic churches that look like Masonic temples. So to see traditional Catholics, Orthodox Christians being treated this way is kind of slightly hilarious, but also very spooky. But that's the way they do it in these IIA operations with their fake gurus and their fake accounts and their fake news cycle. It's getting a little silly. Regardless, let's move on. Colonel MacGregor and good old Scott Ritter and Judge Napolitano. You do realise that it's a little strange, don't you think, that Colonel MacGregor, the old drunk who keeps telling you that Putin's coming to get you and you better watch out, he doesn't seem to do too well in his predictions. He's been saying that Putin will wipe the floor with NATO any day now. He's like the Black Knight. 'Tis but a flesh wound. Putin's not doing well, and anyone could have told you that he was never going to do well. The fool ran down into Ukraine thinking they would never risk the world economy, and especially Germany and Europe with the reliance on his gas and oil supplies. Well, he thought wrong, and here we are. There is not the slightest chance in hell that Vladimir Putin, no matter how many fantasies Colonel MacGregor tells you he's never been right once, cannot go up against the surveillance technology alone of NATO, particularly the US and the Brits. Their side-scanning millimetre wave radar, their thermal imaging from drones, aircraft, suborbital satellites, you name it. They are giving and feeding real-time data into the Ukrainian commanders. They know when Russia's going to strike, and they know where Russia's going to strike. They know in how many numbers. They're giving superb real-time data, and they're slowly feeding them the weapons they need. They can't win too quick. They can't possibly do that because it's got to be touch and go, and it might, look, it's going to end in a nuke. It just has to. It's the finale of finales. Just a tactical nuke. It's very spectacular, but it's not very damaging and not very useful. You do an airburst, it will be spectacular. Everyone will be going, oh my God, it'll be a beautiful addition to the news cycle in between derailed trains and toxic fumes and all the other activities going on to keep ticking over that news cycle. And don't be surprised if it's partly to do with Mike Gill. I mean, his story is so big, it warrants a lot of shenanigans to keep it out of the front pages. Believe me. Don't think that these things can't happen and be planned, including derailments and horrendously stupid, idiotic and ridiculous decisions to set fire to things. Producing a gigantic toxic cloud. You just sit there in stunned disbelief. But it's happening and it's keeping everyone busy. And a tactical nuke will perfectly round off the news cycle. Again, as long as you're not in it, the radiation is minimal. Believe me, Chernobyl will throw out literally 1,000,000 times more radiation than a small tactical nuke will any day. I just don't want to be within 5 to 10 kilometres of it, preferably as far away as possible. What I'm just saying, in the grand scheme of things, it's just the perfect ending. Putin can't win, period. And the talk that the Wagner Group were doing so well and now they're getting ammunition withheld, that adds up because Putin's worried he's looking like a fool and his boss of the Wagner Group might start agitating to get rid of Putin. Entirely possible. Look, they're getting sucked into a grinder. They're sucking them in around Bakhmut and they're bringing them in and they're just grinding them up, slowly but surely, grinding them up. Keep coming, boys, keep coming. Give a bit of ground, keep them coming, drive them back. Keep them coming, just grinding. You can't win when your manoeuvres down to individual soldiers are known in real time, and Lockheed and BAE Systems and Rafael in Israel and probably God knows how many American contractors are now feeding into new battle management systems, the real-time data. They're doing predictive machine learning on outcomes of battles. They're feeding in the data of ammunition levels, how much artillery, how many men, how many rounds are being expended, and they're forming AI machine learning algorithms for warfare. That's why they want to keep this going. The new battle management systems are going to be awesome. It's built on the blood of flesh and blood and grieving mothers and wives, but since when did that bother military industrial contractors the world over? The chances of Russian winning are nil, but they've got to keep a growly bear there because they've got to justify those US bases in Ukraine. We know why. The battle for Eurasia, the forming Eurasian Economic Union. We've shown you this article 5,000 times. It's been going on since 2014 and in fact since 2009. That's why the US is in Eurasia. That's why the US is in Ukraine. There's no mystery to who blew up the pipeline. They know very well why they blew it up. Because Germany, Russia and China were teaming up and stabbing the US in the back along with Israel. Why would they do such a thing? It had been planned with the international banking cartel, Kissinger and Associates, General Jim Jones, Cambridge Analytica, SCL Group, all these Israeli companies that originally got Trump in. And when Trump wouldn't do the business, they had to throw Trump out. Because Trump was doing the wrong things. He pulled up the military-industrial complex, including Marilyn Hewson of Lockheed. That's never been done in history.
The leading woman's business executive in this country, according to many. And we buy billions and billions of dollars worth of that beautiful F-35. It's stealth. You cannot see it. Is that correct? That's correct. Better be correct, right? Absolutely. Marilyn, please say a few words.
Well, thank you, Mr. President. I would just say that this is a very important moment for our country in that we are addressing what is a critical area for the aerospace and defense industry, and that is protecting our intellectual property. As has been expressed, that is a threat to us if we have that stolen from our companies, because that is the lifeblood of our companies. And so we very much welcome this action on the part of the Trump administration and the President of the United States. Thank you.
Dumb Trumpy did that. It was unbelievable. He was running around and doing all the right things. Few problems with Trump, though. And you know what that is, Jared Kushner and Ivanka and Chabad Lubavitch and the photos. Trump is just too damn compromised. But you know what Trump did get? He got a lot of information off Mike Gill. A lot of information. And instead of getting in there and fixing the fentanyl problem, instead of getting in there and stopping the child sex trafficking, instead of getting in there and rooting out masses of corruption, they traded that for political capital. And God forbid, most likely cut themselves into the deal. And that, ladies and gentlemen, that includes you, General Flynn, and Sidney Powell, and all the rest of you scum, is a very, very big problem. Now, Patrick Berge and Lynn Wood and the rest of you, Mike Gill is awaiting your call so he can begin taking interviews with you. You know who you are. Stop ignoring him, stop being little gutless cowards, and start fixing the problem. You all want to identify with the hero, but you don't want to do the hard yards? Oh, well, I'll do it for you then. How about that? God willing, a few serious players are going to walk in and give Mike Gill the time, energy and resources he needs. So we can get some good narratives happening. But you're not going to get a good narrative off Colonel MacGregor, the old drunk, the old Putin groupie. I don't know how much they're paying him, but I find it amazing that a man who hates Israel as much as him, allegedly, cannot see the links between Benjamin Netanyahu and Vladimir Putin. That's very strange. But I know that Colonel MacGregor likes to attend the Atlantic Council, and so does Heinz Kissinger, Rupert Murdoch, and good old General Jim Jones of Denology. That magical picture which no one else wants to repeat to you. It's pretty funny, isn't it? Pretty amazing. Right in front of everyone. Now we move on to Scott Ritter, the pedophile. For those of you that have been around long enough, you will remember Scott Ritter as he was doing some pretty good work on Iraq and all the fake weapons of mass destruction. Unfortunately for Scott, Scott's got a bit of a drug problem and he likes to masturbate in front of 15-year-old schoolgirls online. He was fully convicted. The detective that was posing as the 15-year-old in the adult site said repeatedly, "I am 15 years old." Scott didn't bother. He was loving it way too much. He said, well, it was just a fantasy. Let's just assume that it was true and he really did believe it was an adult female who was pretending to be 15. Let's imagine that. So you still want to be seen with a guy who jerks off to allegedly grown women on adult sites pretending to be 15-year-old schoolgirls? He gets off thinking about having sex at the age of 52 with 15-year-old schoolgirls. I assure you, I'm 52. I can't even begin to imagine the mindset of a large, well-formed male who is getting off on thinking about 15-year-old schoolgirls. When you're a 52-year-old male, you protect 15-year-old schoolgirls. You don't try to get off over them. But Scott Ritter's a whack job, and everyone can't wait to line up with him, and it's incredible. And trust me, when you've been in jail, and I went for 3 years, and as I talked to all those social workers and psychologists who actually spoke to me, not even like I was a prisoner, it's a package deal with the pedophile types. It's a package deal. If Scott Ritter's doing that on adult websites, masturbating in front of webcams, and he'll be high on Adderall or meth or whatever he's on, I assure you he's doing much more than that. And he's probably highly compromised. That's why he's taken the view that Putin's a great guy. Why would you be seen dead with Scott Ritter? When do people stop and just Google Scott Ritter pedophile and work it out? That's a damn good question, and that goes for Judge Napolitano. Now Fox News won't have him on because he was convicted of sexual assault. What a bevy of whack jobs. All these Putin groupies like, I don't know, John McAfee. There's a little sexual deviant. What's up? What are you all, drunks, druggies and sexual deviants all pushing Putin? It's like you're all compromised or something. How long's that going to go on? How long? They can't even get anything right. They think Putin's going to wipe the floor. It's ridiculous. It's absurd. The cat's out of the bag now. Russia's a joke. They're probably going to rearm Putin. Probably going to rearm him and go, we need our official enemy. Everyone's going to find out they're all hopeless and we're decades ahead on every bit of technology. Oh, we're so helpless. We're America. They better watch out. America's helpless. America just goes bomb, crush, destroy. How long is that going on for? All right, this is the battle for Eurasia and the multipolar world order. It's a good thing. Forget about Biden. America is in Ukraine. They're right in Eurasia. He who controls East Europe controls the heartland. Who controls the heartland controls the world island, controls the world. It's to prevent the teaming up of Germany, Russia and China. Watch my Ukrainian playlist, you'll work it out. And Israel was right on in there, and that's what made him cocky. Bibi's going, just move ahead. We got him by the balls. We got him by the balls. We've sexually blackmailed him with the Epstein rings. There's dozens of them. We've got them on all the cyber with their private intelligence groups, just like we talked about today, the Whorehad group. All right, you could have put that in a 5-minute expose, not a 900-page treatise, which didn't even go into 30% of it. And that's what's been run in America this time. It's the greatest espionage penetration at every level in history. It's going to be in movies, it's going to be in books, and it's going to be in documentaries. And guess what? I'm sure I'll be getting a chapter. I want to brag about it because, number one, how could you miss it? Number two, it wasn't missed. Number three, lots of people complained about it, even including Ron Unz, that Putin groupie, and good old Phil Giraldi, CIA counterintelligence, who amazingly decided that he too was a Putin groupie while Bibi Netanyahu was in bed with him. It's incredible. Then we see the links with WikiLeaks. Then we see the links with Edward Snowden. Bring down America, destroy the petrodollar, bring all currencies to parity. Trump was meant to finish the job. Trump didn't do it. What are they going to do? Let's release a virus. Hasn't worked very well, has it? This is the comeback for America. It's happening right now. But American citizens, if you don't push the US Constitution, if you don't get involved in politics, local and federal, if you don't start understanding no one is riding on a white horse to save you, you're going to have to do it yourselves, and you're going to have to get the courage to move politically and not get lost in endless stupid rabbit holes and understand what IIA operations are, Internet Interactive Activities. In my previous videos, we go into it again and again. You've got to run counterintelligence. You've got to be intelligent. You got to know how the system works, how they distract you, give you 30%, move you on, suppress other people, the organic grassroots, and build up the fakes. Look at Mike Gill. Look at me, but look at Mike Gill. Is there ever a bigger real deal? And I've never heard of him till the last week. How is that even possible? I'm aghast. But here we are. I get people all the time. Brandon, have I never heard of you? That's the internet. That's why they don't have to kill us. Internet interactive activities, online psychological warfare. We've got to break the fake, and it's a big fake. We've got to get intelligent politically, understand the big picture, and when we understand the big picture, we'll get it. Watch the must-watch playlist, and you'll get it. Let's move on. Okay, why Netanyahu is suddenly a lot less friendly to Putin. This is from February 7, 2023. Go and read that article. They were brothers for life. Multipolar world order. He was to bring down the United States, turn it into a welfare state, break it up into 4 sections. And we see that happening now, but now America's in Eurasia and it's not out of the Middle East. So Since he came to power at the end of 1999, Russian President Vladimir Putin has gone out of his way to court the Israeli relationship. It's been planned for a long time. He made sure to hold a meeting at least once a year with his serving Israeli Prime Minister, usually at his residences in Sochi or Moscow, and every few years he would travel to Jerusalem. Saturday night, baby. My sound suppression won't work. Hear all the noise. A former Russian diplomat explained to me that, quote, Putin respects strength and sees Israel as a strong country with which he wants to be on good terms. No, Putin sees a backdoor that's been operating for many, many decades into the United States and getting and setting up and extending Russian empirical power. Fair enough, he should be doing that, but Putin doesn't work for Russians. He works for the central banking cartel as a subcontractor. He's a private military contractor like Xi Jinping. They all have an employer. City of London, EU, UK, banking cartel. Okay? Did you know that every single Israeli prime minister is either from the old Russian Empire, Belarus, Russia, Moldova, places like that, or they are the son or daughter of immigrants from there? They're not from America. They're not from Swaziland. They're from the old Russian Empire and Soviet Empire. That's interesting, isn't it? That's why David Ben-Gurion came back and said, I'm a Bolshevik. I'll put that entire video up very shortly. The sound's a bit off, but I did that many years ago. The same is true of Israel's leaders, especially Benjamin Netanyahu, the country's longest-serving prime minister who returned to office at the end of 2022. His father's real name is Milikowski. Where's he from? Right? The old Poland, part of the Russian Empire. That's where the Milikowskis were from. They're all from that same region. Netanyahu was so proud of what he claimed was a close relationship with Putin that in 2019 he used photographs of them together as part of his election campaign. He has claimed on multiple occasions that their relationship was advantageous to Israel's strategic interests. Yes, they were forming the multipolar world order and the Eurasian Economic Union. When is someone else going to repeat that Big Times of Israel article? We don't know, but so far we're the only ones for the last 4 years. It's quite incredible. And of course, as you know, the vast majority of the aeronautical engineers, electrical engineers, coders come from the old Soviet Union, Ukraine, and the new Russia. They are Russians, and 60% of them do not even identify as Jewish. Lily Galili, the million that changed the Middle East. We have pushed that article since 2017. June 2017, I pushed that article with others. Have you ever seen a single other channel operator, online, internet, star, repeat that article? 60%, and they all come in, they dominate the country, it's high-level positions, and 60% do not even identify as Jewish. It's filled with GRU, SVU, KGB assets. Thank you, Deanna. She's done an excellent lobbying letter, and we'll go into that another day. We do that on my Patreon. If you want to be involved in lobbying and getting together with people, it's going to cost you $10 a month, $2.50 a week. I know people are struggling, and a lot of people are actually supporting multiple creators. I'm sorry, but we don't want lurkers. If you're going to come on and get involved, you're going to pay. We don't want to make it easy for people. You're going to at least have to put your credit card up. And that's interesting because patrons do like me and have made it clear that they do like me and have made it clear that if I adhere to terms of service and do not incite and put things in context, then there's not going to be a problem. However, I still want to get my own website eventually. But I must confess, Patreon is working pretty well. Cross your fingers. The reason I'm still on YouTube, there is no mystery. Read the terms of service. Controversial aspects or subjects like Jewish power, political Zionism can be addressed in context. But the big one is this: who are you? They know I've got Jewish friends. They know where I get my info from, and I put things in context. And I watch out for being insightful. That's why I'm still on. But if you come on and can't work out why you've been booted off, it's because you're talking to white nationalists behind the scenes. There is no privacy. Google is the military. YouTube is the military. It's not In-Q-Tel. Had nothing to do with In-Q-Tel. Nothing. That's Facebook. That's Twitter and the other ones. Google is the military. NASA. All right? DARPA. That's where all the roads lead. NSA. So if you think you're going to stay on YouTube while you get smart and put on a nice public persona, but the whole time behind the scenes you're being very naughty, that's why you're getting booted. That's why. So there's no mystery to how I'm still on YouTube. Follow the YouTube terms of service. So that doesn't mean I'm going to stay on. Someone could walk in there and just decide a new thing and boom, you're gone. Simple as that. So you got to be careful. But, there you go. I'm not sure how many more times we can talk about the Putin and Netanyahu relationship. You can't miss that. That Xi, Putin, and Netanyahu and the German elites working together. How could you miss it? And yet your Putin groupie of choice, who all hate Israel, suddenly missed all that. And they're all a bit weird, aren't they? A bit whack-jobbish. Wonder who's running them. Putin has no capacity to run them. Israel does. And Kissinger and associates and those private contractors, they're the ones who are running it. They're the ones that are blackmailing these personalities, these pedophiles, these sexual assaulters like Judge Napolitano and that scumbag Ritter. What a jerk-off. What a vile, disgusting creature. It's time he just shuffled off and went home with the wife and had another fantasy about a 15-year-old. Why not make it 14, Scott? Maybe 12? 52-year-old man, you protect young teenage girls. 52-year-old men do not want to have sex with 15-year-old girls. There's something wrong with you. You can admire the female form. You can say she's going to be a stunner and a heartbreaker when she gets older, but that should be balanced very strongly by a strong desire to protect as a mature male. Mature males don't run around fantasizing about having sex with 15-year-olds, especially when it's a detective pretending to be a 15-year-old. But I'd say Scott had a bit of the powder or maybe a few Adderall dexamphetamine tablets beforehand, quite possibly. I don't know about you, but this is not moralizing. Why you wouldn't be fantasizing about a mature woman's body? I'm just saying. Oh, as a Catholic, not that I've ever been on Pornhub. Look, I went to Pornhub once. I was looking for Roger Stone group sex, and I took the protection thing off because I was trying to find stuff. Because if you don't know, Roger Stone likes to share his wife around. Good luck for him, but not when you're a political operator because you're clearly up to mischief, blackmailing people. And I found Pornhub. Now, the detectives always complained, we've confiscated your laptops 4 times. There's never been a single dose of porn on there ever. I said, yeah, I know. I don't tend to go to porn sites. I'm not moralizing. All right, I'm just saying I was busy doing other things. But what astounded me with the porn sites like Pornhub was it had a 20, 30-minute segment. Watch our segment, then get the full 2-hour video. I'm sorry. I'm going to ask a silly question, but who the hell wants to watch a 2-hour porno? I hope the script and the acting's good. What? It watches 2 hours. Am I just old-fashioned? Not that I know about this, being Catholic and all, but I'm just saying, I just think, what the hell? Am I missing something? Well, a lot of it's drugs. Crystal methamphetamine makes you very amorous. Cocaine. That's how they get them. One sliver of that crystal meth, it'll dissolve instantly in scotch. If a man's not used to it and he's not aware, he's going to be suddenly extremely aroused, and then they bring out the secretary. If you're lucky, she's 21. But maybe she's a little bit younger, then a little bit younger. Before you know it, click, 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 click. The blackmail is directly linked with drugs. Directly. I worked in nightclubs. I've had crystal methamphetamine. Boing. Woo, look out. You're swinging from the chandeliers. It's freaking dangerous. Why do you think you have such a huge resurgence of sexually transmitted disease and unsafe sex practices? Because they're off their heads on the drugs. And your kids at 16, 17 and 18 and 15-year-olds are taking them in the clubs. You have no idea what your 15-year-old daughter's getting up to in a nightclub, do you? You have no idea. And that was the 1990s. God knows what they're doing now. But that's enough of that. I don't want to think about Scott Ritter anymore. Let's move on. This is the perfect example of what I talk about. Mindless, meaningless issues. Do you remember what good old... Oh, hell, I've forgotten his name. Yeah, that guy. Meaningless dead ends. Meaningless dead ends. Fake issues. Let's listen to Tucker. We've got to listen to this. Now, just to clarify, Tucker is extremely upset and shocked and offended that this sort of behaviour is going on. That they've got crazy leftists led by AOC and all the crazy ECG, Green deal, get your transgenders right, get your pronouns right. It's just shocking. It's all fake. The whole thing's fake. It's crisis actors. It's fake scripts. They just fund them through the foundation system, build them up, give them lots of money, give them lines. They say, We want you to introduce legislation to make every man wear a pink ribbon around his privates and sing I'm a teapot. Short and stout, here is my handle, here is... They'll say, this is outrageous, this is mad, everybody's mad. It's all fake, 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 fake. So you don't talk about bankers and Lehman Brothers and all the other 1,000,001 issues that need addressing. This is the perfect example. Let's watch how offended Tucker Carlson is. Now, who's Tucker Carlson's boss? Everybody, who is Tucker Carlson's boss? Rupert Murdoch. Who is best friends with Rupert Murdoch? Heinz Kissinger. Who is Heinz Kissinger getting his award at? The Atlantic Council, like the CFR and Trilateral Commission. And who's handing the award to Rupee Doopy? Well, that will be General Jim Jones. Denology, Clear Force, Private Intelligence Operator, Associative Roger Stone, and on and on and on. Is anybody going to tell you about that image? Is any of these whores, these filthy, dirty, sellout whores, that's what they are for sale. And nobody is going to tell you that one image. I got off an 18-year-old Swiss kid sent it to me, Glacier. 18 years old. He managed to type in Heinz Kissinger, Rupert Murdoch, and look what he found. My goodness, he's a genius. What a researcher. Someone tell Whitney. But Whitney can't do that because Blaze TV is also associated with Rupert Murdoch. And that's also associated with Kissinger and Associates, which is also associated with the political Zionist movement. Hello? Let's get back to Tucker, because Tucker's going to tell you how outraged he is.
Good evening and welcome to a special Friday night edition of Tucker Carlson.
Tucker.
Live, by the way, as always. So if we use profanity, you'll hear
You
it.
know, good friend of Hunter Biden.
We're going to try not to. Ever notice how the biggest stories get the least attention? Weird how that works. The fake Duchess from Santa Monica spends an hour talking to Oprah about her skincare regime, and it's the lead of every morning show in America.
Look at this. They're spitting in your face. They're laughing at you. Listen, Tucker's going to tell you the most important story. Not that his friend, the globalist, is hanging around with trillionaire bankers trying to screw everyone. Nah, Tucker's going to tell you. Tucker Carlson is the alternative media, ladies and gentlemen. He is the alternative media.
Biden institutes a government-wide system of racial discrimination that dwarfs Jim Crow, and nobody seems to notice. That happened yesterday, by the way. Did you know that? Probably not, because there was no press conference,
Tell us,
signing
Tucker.
ceremony,
Tell
no
us.
media coverage. But 24 hours ago it happened. Biden restructured the entire executive branch of the U.S. government to discriminate on the basis of immutable characteristics. He made that announcement on the White House website, and it proclaimed
It's called hate speech laws.
that within 30 days, every federal agency, all of them, from the Department of Justice to NASA to the Social Security Administration, all of them, all must, quote, ensure that they have a agency equity team within their respective agencies to coordinate the implementation of equity initiatives.
Oh my goodness, ladies and gentlemen. Tucker is outraged. Tucker is outraged. Are you outraged too, you white males paying your taxes and you're getting, look at this. Bankers aren't the enemy. Trillionaire bankers and private intelligence groups and the foundation systems and the think tanks and the roundtable groups, they're not your enemy. It's these filthy leftists. Oh my goodness. Can I get another gasp? I know. Bit of a drum roll. Whoa. Bit of sad violin. Let's play a bit of sad violin.
And these Maoist equity teams will report to something called the Gender Policy Council.
It's tragic.
And the White House, quote, environmental
I'm offended.
justice officer.
I'm offended.
Does the environmental justice officer carry a sidearm? We don't know.
I'm extremely offended.
Do know that running all of this, which is the largest racial tracking bureaucracy since the fall of Nazi Germany, will be former President Barack Obama, and he'll be doing that, as always, through his longtime lackey and cutout, Susan Rice.
Oh my God.
Rice's goal, the goal of the entire initiative,
Obama's running the whole damn thing in Hillary Clinton's spirit cooking bunker, ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen.
is to place the federal government, all of it, in opposition to a very specific slice of the American population, not a foreign population, our own population. Here's how it works. Every single person in the United States will qualify for one of Joe Biden's many protected categories, except straight white men. So
Uh-oh.
we're all in this together, except those guys who are on the outs. It's all of us versus them.
God, it's almost like they're trying to break the country up or something.
Straight white men, they will not be protected because they are, by virtue of being straight and white and male, the cause of the problem.
That's enough before I vomit. The cause of the problem is, of course, the foundation system which funds these ridiculous programs, legislatures coming up, and they tell that moron and go, oh, wow, all they do is promote morons. They promote mentally ill people. They give them money and they promote them. Otherwise, you would laugh at them. They would probably be homeless, urinating and defecating on themselves on the side of the road. But instead, they're given $1,000 suits and they're given lots of money and they're given lots of prestige and they're pumped up in the media and they're given foundation money, which is foreign money disguised as local money. And that's how they bring the money in and wreck the system. You've got to end the foundation system, the roundtable groups, the think tanks. But let me tell you something, Tucker Carlson's not going to tell you that. He's offended. But it's Barack Obama. It's the leftists and the Maoists. And AOC, they're running it from Hillary's spirit cooking bunker. It's incredible. Meanwhile, Mike Gill is telling you all about that big, huge drug money laundering operation going on in New Hampshire, and I can guarantee you Tucker Carlson won't be speaking about that any time soon. Let's move on, because I'm offended. There is going to be another 10 years of this. It's not going to be won tomorrow. This is a long battle. There are good people within the system, I promise you. I wouldn't be here otherwise, and even Mike Gill wouldn't be here otherwise. Good coppers, prison officers, members of parliament, senators, congresspeople behind the scenes, and who knows who else. I don't know, maybe even the Pentagon. Some bright young colonel out there in the Pentagon may well be assisting along the way. Who can say? But I strongly urge you to know that the system requires the military. Which reminds me, American Partisan, Scout, former Special Operations Command, JP, 82nd Airborne, I fleeking forgot to email you. Do you want to interview Mike Gill? Because he'd sure like to speak with you. So let's get that there, get American Partisan back in there. Haven't spoken to them for a while, but they've been very busy with their own lives. But these are the type of people we talk to. John from Sheepdog Combatives and others. These are very serious people with a lot of contacts in the military. I'm sorry, Whitney Webb is not going to save you. A bunch of soft-core lefties and their friends on either side of the political spectrum are not going to save you. Men with big swinging testicles, experienced in the use of firearms, are going to save you. I'm very sorry. Anyone running around trying to demoralize you and tell you, what's the point of using the military? They're all sold out. What are they doing online? Do they seriously think a bunch of crazy cat ladies and Julianne Romanello and all else are going to save you? No, men with guns will save you. Men with guns, highly experienced professionals with the lawful authority to use them, will do it. That's who you reach. They want you to be demoralized. No, you can't trust anybody. Where are you going to go? There's nowhere to go. You're finished. So there's a vested interest in making sure you never engage with those authorities. Mike Gill's still kicking 12 years on. Do you see what he did? He's still alive. Lots of people are still alive. It's horsepucky. They're cowards. Get in their face. They are cowards. And even if you do end up dead, great, you're a martyr. We'll put you up on a wall like Hezbollah and Hamas do, and we'll praise you, and we'll light a candle, and we'll sing songs in the Irish pub for the next 600 years. People are going to have to die. We will require martyrs. We will require risk. I get it. I'm a single male. I don't have kids. It makes a difference. But let me tell you, Mike Gill had kids and a wife and a happy relationship and a $1.5 million a week, just sitting around with his wife buying houses because they could. Mike Gill consciously risked it all. It all. He's been fighting corruption for over a decade. Since 2008. He didn't just turn up. The reason he got all that information was because everyone came to him. He advertised, come to me with your stories. He took it to the DEA. They had the biggest bust in history because of Mike Gill. That's ballsy, man. Ballsy. I'd be thinking, and I'm pretty ballsy, but I'd be thinking 4, 5, 6, 7 times. Going, I don't know about that. Ballsy. You're going to have to take risks. So let's be sensible. Let's do it very slowly, methodically. We'll do it. It's going to take time. But it would help if people would get together in a spirit of camaraderie. camaraderie. We did nothing wrong. We were polite. We weren't racist. We didn't hang around with the wrong people. We made a conscious effort to be clean. No one would touch us. Because you're going to have to make the sensible conclusions we made a long time ago. They're all handled. They wanted me out of the picture, and they wanted someone they could control for their controlled/limited release. That was Whitney Webb. She appeared at the same time Joseph Davies, FedEx, Fred Smith, Skull and Bones, and we all wonder where Richard Webb IV, good old Whitney Webb's dad, did he go to Yale or Harvard? Ever attended a Skull and Bones meeting, Whitney? Does your dad launder a lot of drug money over there in Sarasota, Florida, doing $200 to $300 million land deals? Could be very interesting. Maybe you should catch up with billionaire Curtis Olson of Nexus Group and Eric Kennedy, his Mormon lawyer, with their very strong connections. And I guarantee you that connection in California is the exact same, and I mean exact same identical system that's running up there in New Hampshire, that runs in every single state, and New Hampshire is the clearinghouse. All these Israeli private intelligence groups, cyber groups, hacking, setting people up, sending dildos to people's houses with pictures, embarrassing them, getting pressure on people, finding their weaknesses, psychologically profiling them, setting them up with blackmail, sexual blackmail operations. It's all linked in together. Ghislaine Maxwell, the clearinghouse, probably for the entire country's drug trade, is up there in New Hampshire. And it's going to come out, isn't it, Governor Chris Sununu? Isn't it Senator Janine Shaheen? And Bill Shaheen, the old campaign manager for the Clintons, and Ghislaine Maxwell's lawyer. Mike Gill has the story of the century, and he wants to give it all to me, including the 3-hour Patrick Howley Epoch Times video. Yeah, I'll take it. Bring it on. I've got some interesting friends. They definitely want to have a look at it. They'll probably get it before me once it's online. Ah, Mudge, Peter Zetko, you legend. Ladies and gentlemen, start having a little faith. Start. I know it's hard. There's a lot to clean up. But America, if you go down, everybody goes down. You don't free Gaza, free the world. You don't free Palestine, free the world. You free America from the international banking cartel, foundation system, roundtable group, think tank, organized crime cult. You do that, then you free the world. Then that light of liberty, which we laugh about because we're so demoralized and belligerent, we laugh at it. We laugh at Americans with their silly patriotism, with their silly flag waving. And yet right there in that Constitution, that piece of paper, which is meaningless without the blood of martyrs and people willing to sacrifice. There lies our future. There lies our freedom, the US Constitution. It will not be perfect and it will never be perfect. But it'll be good enough. It's all about values and what you're willing to sacrifice. The road is long. The fight is hard. Let's start now. If not me, who? If not now, when? If not Mick Gill, Mikey Gill, who? You. So look coldly at yourself. Start learn to lobby. Start looking up how to lobby. Start forming little groups. You don't have to do it tomorrow. We got 70 years of this. You think it ends tomorrow. You think it ends at Agenda 2030 or Agenda 2050. This is a 70-year battle. 70 years. Get ready. Train your kids up. Get ready for a multi-generational battle all the way to the end. The road is long. It's not short. So trim your wicks, get your supplies, keep your picker hard and your powder dry, and the world will turn. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm a very serious person. You know why? I'm wearing a button-up shirt. Oh, yes. I haven't sworn once, I do believe, in the whole video. And not swearing is a good idea. Isn't that Jimmy? That's a good idea. Let's not swear. Let's be professional. Let's help Mike Gill, who's trying to help us. I can't wait. I'm very optimistic. I should be. I've had 4 coffees after 6 p.m. You bet I'm optimistic. I shall pay a heavy price in the morning. Ladies and gentlemen, I'll leave you with the great F. Scott Fitzgerald and Bill Cooper. F. Scott Fitzgerald, quote, "The test of a first-rate intelligence is the ability to hold 2 opposing ideas in the mind at the same time and still retain the ability to function. One should, for example, be able to see that things are hopeless and yet be determined to make them otherwise. This philosophy fitted on to my early adult life when I saw the improbable,
the implausible, often the impossible, come true.
What is our common bond truly? Freedom. Freedom. Without freedom, you can't be a Christian no matter what denomination you belong to. You can't be a Buddhist. You can't own a donut shop. You can't drive from here to Oregon. You can't be an American because that's what it's all about, and it's the only thing that it's all about, nothing else. Nothing else. It's about freedom.